Welcome to Office 2016 video number 10. Hey, in this video, we got to talk more about word styles. And then we're going to see a great trick that uses word styles to create an automatic table of contents. And we'll be able to send a Word document to PowerPoint. Now, these are the PDF notes that you can download. I'm going to close this. Alt F4. Now I want to come down and create a blank Word document. So I'm going to click on the blue W. I'm going to click Escape. Now I'm going to hit Enter, 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 and then put my cursor at the top. Now the Styles group is in the Home ribbon tab, and we have used footnote style, bibliography style, and even heading 1 style. In our last video, we saw that we could create from our paragraph level formatting, multi-level list, we created my multi-level list style. Now we want to create our own style from scratch. In the first paragraph, I'm going to type Office 2016 and then video number 10, colon. And in this video, we'll talk about, of course, word styles, comma, table of content trick, and then send to PowerPoint. Now, the point here is we want to create a style. This is the actual title of the video. I use this for the actual posted video at YouTube. I use this for the title in our PDF notes. But both of those documents start in Word. So every time I create this title, I have to highlight all of the letters or characters and the paragraph, and add both character level formatting and paragraph level formatting. Now I'm going to use Control B to add bold. I'm going to use Control square bracket to increment up till I see size of font 20. I'm looking up in the font group. Then I want to add paragraph level formatting center alignment with Control E. And I want to go up to the paragraph group and add from the drop down for paragraph level border, I'm going to add outside border. And then finally, I'm going to right click and go to paragraph because I want to make sure single space, but I always want lots of space after this paragraph. So 18 points after. Now I've added a bunch of character level formatting and paragraph level formatting. And I don't ever want to have to do that again. I want a style listed up here. So every time I need this style, I don't have to click, click, click. I just click on a button here, and it will apply both character level and paragraph level formatting. Here's the Styles group. I go over to the More button, click the More button. Over here, create a style. We actually saw this last video when we created our list style. Click. I'm going to give this a smart name. Video title. When you're creating your own style for whatever use, give it a good smart name. And I definitely want to click Modify. Just like last video, we saw Modify gives us some other options. Now, last video, we had to change our style type to list. But our default, I'm going to click Escape, was perfect. I want both paragraph and character. Now you can see this style is based on normal because when we started adding format, it started with the normal default style. You can actually start from any one of these styles up here. If you like heading, but you want to add some different styles, that would be your start, and then you add some new formatting to it. We set all of our formatting, so now all I want to make sure to do is come down and select New Documents based on this template. That means on this computer, when I open up a new document, it will be available. I'm going to click OK. And look at that. It's even listed up in our gallery. Now, if I come down here, I simply click. And just like that, I didn't have any text, but there's the formatting. Control N for a new document. Sure enough, there it is. Now, a couple more things. I'm going to close this. We don't need to save it. I'm going to hit F12, navigate down to my Word, O2 Word folder. I'm going to select, just like we did last time, a file that already exists that puts the name in, I definitely don't want to click Save, because all I want to do is highlight to the end and type 10, something like 10 my new style, and enter. Couple more things. Over here, this is the styles group. There is a dialog launcher. This will give us our full list of styles. Now, it does not always have all of the styles. In fact, by default, it never does. You want to be able to come down to Options. And in Options, we can say, and I already did this, select styles to show. I don't want recommended or in use. I want to say all styles. Then I want to show it alphabetically. I can click OK, and now I have this full list here, and I can select whichever ones I want. If I scroll all the way down to bottom, there's my video title. Another important button is this one here, Manage Styles. If I click that, this is where I can come to delete it. Now, if you want to delete it permanently from this computer, then you have to come down to Import and Export. And there's two sides. This is actually the organizer. Styles available in this document and in the normal.dotm. That's the actual template that opens up every time you open a blank new document. So if you wanted to delete it from both, you'd have to click and delete, click and delete. Now, we don't really need to worry about that. We're not going to delete it. We're going to keep it. Click Close. And the styles we can leave off to the side. Now I'm going to Control S. I want to Alt Tab to go back to Windows Explorer, or however you get to Windows Explorer. And from our website, you have already downloaded, or you should go and download it now, the start file for Video Project 10. Two of them. There's one that says TOC for Table of Contents start file, and then Boomerangs are easy to throw start file. You want to download both of those. Those links are also directly below the video. Now I'm going to double click TOC style start file. TOC is for table of contents. Now I've already created this document. There's nothing at the top, but there is a page break. Of course, if you don't have your non-printing characters on, then please turn them on. If you scroll down, oh, look at that. There's a bunch of sections to this paper. This was one of the very, very first attempts I had at writing a book about Excel. This was the first couple of sections. Now, what I want to do is up at the top, I want a table of contents. Well, table of contents, which last two videos ago we did a lot in the reference tab in citations and bibliography and footnotes, but table of contents is here. And the thing is, before we can click the drop-down and select Table of Contents, notice it even gives you a hint. This feature won't work unless you use one of the heading styles. Now I'm going to click Escape. If we go back to Home, now we want our Table of Contents at the top. So all we have to do is go to each paragraph that should be in our Table of Contents, and I'm using the selection bar to highlight it, and I'm going to click Heading 1. Now, Heading 1, that's the default. If we'd like to modify it, we can simply come up to our heading, right-click, Modify. Now, I would like to change this to font color black, bold, and that will do it. I'm going to click OK. Now, I've modified Heading 1, so anytime I use it later, like down on What is Excel, that modification will be reflected. Now I'm adding Heading 1 to each one of these sections so that that text in that paragraph will show up in the table of contents. Now let's use Control Home. We are ready to insert our table of contents. I go up to References, over to Table of Contents, click the drop-down. And now because I have some heading style, when I click Table of Contents, boom, just like that, I have my table of contents. Now, this is totally dynamic, and you can see that it's grayed out. We learned about that earlier. That means there's something automatic happening behind the scenes. If I go down and change this document, so for example, Before what is Excel, I have my cursor, and I'm going to use the keyboard for page break. Control Enter. Now that's on a different page, so the table of content will update to reflect that. I click before rows, Control Enter. The last section, I come to the end, and I'm going to change the title, comma, file name. Now when I Control Home, it's not updated yet because this is a field. Anytime you see that gray stuff, this is a field. If you want to update it, right-click. You can tell it's a field because update field only happens when you right-click something that's a field. So when I click Update Field, it's by default going to update page numbers, but I definitely want to update the entire table, which means the words. When I click OK, that is beautiful. The text has changed and the page numbers. So we saw how to apply some heading 1 style and use the automatic table of contents feature. Now I want to save this, so I'm going to use F12. Now I want to come over very carefully and highlight Start. And now I'm going to type Finished. So when I click Enter to save that, we've created a new file. Now I'm going to Alt F4. Over in Windows Explorer, I can see the new file. Now our second styles trick, we're going to start with the boomerangs are easy to throw start file. I'm going to double-click that or hit Enter to open it. Now this trick is an unusual trick. And this trick will only work if we happen to have all the text that we want to put over in a PowerPoint presentation, we happen to have it already in a Word document. Now I'm going to show you this trick because I've created a lot of PowerPoints. And a lot of times the text that defined each one of the slides over in PowerPoint, I already had it in Word. So here's the trick. Now, right now, if I clicked our button and we added that button, Send to Microsoft PowerPoint, to our Quick Access Toolbar, we added that in video number 4. But if I click that button right now, it would send all of this text to a single slide. And that's not what we want. But for each one of the first lines in our text block, that's the first line, that's our text block. That first line is supposed to be a title on a single slide. Well, if I highlight the first line and add heading 1 style, and then for the bullets, I add heading 2. Now when I send this over to PowerPoint, heading 1 will automatically create a new slide, and that will be the title. Heading 2 will be bullets on that slide. So we're going to use the heading 1 style and the heading 2 style as a translator. It'll translate this Word document into a PowerPoint presentation. Now I want to go through and try and use our control selection trick. So each one of the first lines in our text block, that's going to need heading 1. That will tell that first line that it should be the title and that we should create a new slide. Now I clicked holding Control. Now I'm going to let go of Control and roll my wheel. Now I'm going to continue holding Control and click in the selection bar. Click in the selection bar. This is a hard trick. Some of you are learning this for the first time. You may have to try this a few times. But the reason I wanted to highlight everything is because now all I have to do is click heading 1 one time. Now let's try and do the same thing for all the bullets. That needs to be the bullet on that slide. I'm holding Control. That needs to be the bullet on that slide. Now I'm going to hold Control, click in the selection bar, and drag to highlight those 3 paragraphs. When I apply heading 1, those will be 3 different bullets. I'm holding Control, click and drag in the selection bar. Now I let go of Control, and I'm going to use my wheel to scroll down. Now I'm holding Control, click and drag. Holding Control, click. Holding Control, click and drag. Now I let go of Control, and now I'm holding Control again. Now again, that's hard to do to select all the right text. If you accidentally highlight any of these hard returns and apply heading 1 or heading 2, it'll mess up when you send over to PowerPoint. In particular, if you accidentally apply heading 1 to a blank paragraph mark, it'll create an empty slide. Now I'm going to click heading 1. And there we have created all the translation that we need. Now, before we send this to PowerPoint, I'm going to hit F12. I'm immediately going to highlight all the way to the end for this file name and add with style. So its boomerangs are easy to throw with style. Now I can click Save or hit Enter. Now, if you didn't watch video number 4, the quat starts above the ribbon, right-click Show Below the Ribbon, right-click the Quick Access Toolbar and Customize. Then you go to Choose Commands from All Commands, click in the list, type the letter S, scroll down to where it says Send to Microsoft PowerPoint. Click the Add, click OK, and then you have that button. Now I'm going to escape because we already have that button. All right, now here's the moment of truth. I'm going to come over and click my Send to PowerPoint. Instantly, it opens up PowerPoint, and just like that, we have all of our slides for our PowerPoint presentation. Now I'm going to come over and click Enable Editing. I want to hit F12, and it has no idea where to save this because this is PowerPoint. We haven't saved anything in PowerPoint, so I have to navigate all the way down, not to Word, but now we're going to save it in our O3 PowerPoint. That's a fine name. .pptx is a fine extension. Click Save. Now in PowerPoint, PowerPoint is not too hard, especially if you know some tricks from Word. Now in this video, I'm going to do a couple things to this PowerPoint presentation, and then next video, we'll see more detail about PowerPoint. But now this is PowerPoint, and all we want to do is I want to convert the first slide to a title slide. Then I want to add a consistent design or theme to each slide. Then I want to add a transition between slides, and then we'll see if we can play it. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to click on the very first slide. In the Home Ribbon tab, Slides, we can choose different layouts. Now for us, later we'll see a to content. By default, everything is title and content, but I want to click Title Slide. And just like that, we have a title slide. Now, Design, and look at that in the Themes group. There's all sorts of different themes. If I click, this one's Ion Boardroom, instantly every slide gets that design theme. If I go over to this one, Slice, I'm going to click. Instantly, all the slides have that theme. That's why PowerPoint's pretty easy. It doesn't take many clicks to get a pretty straightforward PowerPoint presentation. Now I want to go over to Transitions. And Transitions, if you click on Push, oh, look at that. It shows you what movement will happen between slides as you're moving from one slide to another. Wipe, look at that. Random bars. Now I'm going to click the More button, and I was hoping to find Boomerang. There actually used to be a Boomerang transition, but they took it out. Now, one thing about adding movement, you don't want to get too fancy or pick the wrong one. If I click Fracture, that is not what you want in a Boomerang presentation. This Boomerang presentation is about how to throw and catch a boomerang, not break a window. Now, I want to click the drop down here, and I'm going to select Wind. So that's kind of nice. It's kind of like the boomerang is flying in the wind. I'm matching the transition element to the content of the presentation boomerangs. Now, I want to look over at this slide. There's a star there. That means we have transition on this first slide. So we absolutely, in our Transitions ribbon tab, need to come all the way over to Timing and click Apply to All. Now we see stars on all the slides. We might want to choose a sound, so we'll have movement and sound between the slides in the transition. I'm going to click the drop down and choose breeze. I'm trying to match the different elements we're putting into the PowerPoint to the actual content. Now, I should have waited to click Apply All. I'm going to click Apply All. Now, that's all we're going to see here, but we do want to see how to play the PowerPoint. Come over to Slideshow. From beginning, the keyboard, if you see right there, is F5. When you're editing, next time we'll be creating a lot of edits, so we'll want to check them. Shift F5 starts from the current slide. So I'm not going to use any of those buttons. I'm going to use the F5 key to start. Now, to move from one slide to the next, you can click with your mouse. You can use the space bar. You can use Enter. But I like to use the arrow keys. Now, there's a down arrow and an up arrow. If I down arrow, that goes forward. If someone asks something about the previous slide, now we can use the up arrow, and it goes back. Now, to get out of view the PowerPoint presentation, click Escape. Now we're back to edit mode. Now I'm going to Control S. Even with just those basic couple of clicks, we created a nice PowerPoint presentation. Now, next video, we'll see how to add pictures and different layouts, and we'll add a link and a video and things like that. All right, I'm going to Alt F4. Alt F4 to close, and if it asks me to save, click Save or Enter. In this video, we saw how to create our own style and save it so that we can use it in other documents. Alt F4. We saw how to use styles to create an automatic table of contents. And of course, we just saw how to add heading 1 and heading 2 to send a Word document automatically to PowerPoint. And then over in our PowerPoint folder, we saw a few clicks to get up and running a PowerPoint presentation. All right, next video, we'll talk more about PowerPoint. We'll see you next video.